Hi, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Consult with Anne. This one is on Temple Grandin. So, hi, everybody. I just want to say a couple things right now. This group and me, we are like the whole purpose of this is to give you guys as many resources. Everyone, and welcome. As many resources as I can. And Temple Grandin is somebody that is absolutely brilliant. She's a major influencer in my world and in the world of autism, and then also in the world of animal science, if you will. And one of the things that Temple talks about is how, anyway, so Chelsea and John, if you guys can repost again the link, and we'll put it in the PDF, the downloadable PDF. We'll put in clickable links. But one of the things that I'd love for you guys to do is put in again the link to the movie Temple Grandin that was done in 2010, and Claire Danes was the one who was was Temple Grandin in the movie. So one of the things that, and they're all, and then also to put in a link, Temple has or Dr. Grandin has a website that's called Temple Grandin. I think I gave you guys those. But one of the things that I guess I just really want to cover in today's Facebook Live or whatever this thing is some of the information that Temple has, not only in the movie but also in her website and in other interviews that she's done. I just listened to a portion of a conference that she did in Cork, Ireland, and some of the questions that were asked were around difficult situations growing up and how her mother helped her, and things that she found with the difficult situations. And the common thread in all of her responses is how key and integral her mom was in her learning and in her early life, and in really encouraging the gifts that she has as an autistic person. So Dr. Grandin thinks in pictures, and if you've seen the movie, and the other thing that she says, which is really true, not everybody with autism thinks in pictures, like many of them do. And so in the movie, it talks, somebody asks about shoes, and Temple is flooded with pictures of every pair of shoes that she's ever seen, whether it was in an ad, in her mom's closet, that anybody that she's ever known has worn, has had on their feet, any shoes that she's had that she's tried on, and she just gets flooded with it. She's a visual thinker. And not everybody with autism is a visual thinker. She talks about how some people are mathematical thinkers, or I know some kids who are hearing thinkers, right? Ones who are really gifted in music. And I have a little bit of that. One of my sisters was a concert pianist by the time she was a teenager, and my dad had what's known as perfect pitch. And so when I took piano lessons, the piano teacher would get really angry at me because I never learned how to read music. All I needed to do was to trick her into playing whatever it was that was the lesson, and I could play it back to her just instantly, like that. Some kids with autism are like that. If they're gifted in music, they think along those lines. Some colleagues of mine and I created a school called Access Possibilities School several years ago, and it was an online school for kids who basically have been diagnosed with autism, ADD, ADHD, in some cases OCD, and the teachers were incredible. We did it for a year. I think we were probably way ahead of our time. It was in, I think, 2015, maybe 2015 to 2016 academic year, and we presented it to a lot of different parents, and there were 60 parents who responded and said yes, they would send their kids. And when push came to shove, like when we actually, quote, opened the school, there were only 4 parents who had their kids in the school. 2 kids were full-time and 2 kids were part-time. And at that point, even though the parents were really interested in it, when they realized that they would have their kids at home all the time, they balked. They couldn't do it, either because they were working outside the home, or they didn't have the wherewithal to have a nanny come in, or whatever. They weren't of the homeschooling ilk. And so we did it for a year and then closed it down, unfortunately, because there wasn't enough interest in it. But one of the things that the teachers were brilliant. And there was one of the examples that we had was, like, a lot of people with autism get focused on one thing. Like they obsess about, like Dr. Grandin talks about cars. One of our kids obsessed about bugs, another one about meteors, like that kind of stuff. And if you can find teachers, or if you're homeschooling your child, you can actually have an entire, I don't know what the word is, an entire learning thing around whatever it is that they're obsessing on. So for bugs, math, learn how to count by counting bugs. Science, how are bugs built? How are bugs made? Where do bugs live? Like that kind of stuff. History, you can do a whole history thing on the history of bugs, whether it's bugs or cars or meteors or whatever it is. You can have their curriculum. That's the word I was looking for. You can have their curriculum based on whatever it is that they're interested in. And especially now in this time of COVID, when homeschooling is looking like it's going to be, at least in the United States, is going to be part of the curriculum for kids in the public school system. I have friends who have kids in the school system in Colorado, and also some other state, I can't remember. But when they start school in the fall, most of it's going to be online. And when they are in class, it'll be a total of 1 day. But it'll be half days, 2 half days spread out across the week with social distancing, like all that kind of stuff. It's just insane. So anyway, I digress, and I don't think I actually did. Like, Dr. Grandin talks again about the need to do what we were doing, which was teaching the kids based on what their interest is, what their gift is, what their capacity is. And many kids, regardless of where they are on the spectrum, have a particular either interest or gift. And in Dr. Grandin's case, it was her ability to see animals in a completely different way. And so one of the things that she's done over the course of her lifetime is combine that gift that she has with animals as an autistic person. And she's actually, if you watch the movie or not, she has created a completely different way for livestock to be handled. And it's a much more humane way. And one of the things that she talks about is how she looks different. She functions differently as a child. She was really different, and she got teased and bullied and picked on at school, except when she was in activities that other kids were really interested in. And so one of the things that she talks about is encouraging parents to get kids involved in extracurricular activities that are of whatever their particular interest is. So whether it's art or music or robotics or mechanics or bugs or Legos or whatever, get your kids involved in activities that are designed for this, whatever this particular interest is. Does that make sense? What else? One of the things that Dr. Grandin talks about and that we also found is one of the things that's most helpful for these kids is if they can find an adult who really actually gets them. And so Dr. Grandin had a science teacher, but again, who gave her special projects to work on where she really actually excelled. I would really encourage you guys to watch the movie. There are also some TED Talks of kids who were nonverbal. I can't remember the name of it. I'll see if I can find it. But there's a mom and whose son was nonverbal and was getting into a lot of trouble at school and was in special ed classes where they were told to do rote assignments that were really stupid that he refused to do. And so she pulled him out of school. And he was really interested in shadows and in clouds, I think. And so she spent nights outside with him, and I can't remember all of it. And it fired up his brain to learn how to speak and to learn how to learn, because she opened that opportunity for him, that possibility. And he ended up rushing basically through elementary, middle, and high school, and I think was accepted at Princeton or MIT at the age of 11 or 13 or something like that. Anyway, I'll find the link. But there, just so you know, I've kicked a couple of people out of this group who are using their kids as a way to promote their businesses. There was one mom who wanted to post a couple of videos, and she was doing it so that people would, quote, like her page. So be aware, when you go onto YouTube, there are going to be those kinds of videos where parents are using this stuff to promote themselves, promote their business, and promote their kids. And then there are the parents who are actually like looking to invite people to a different way of viewing their kids, not as a form of self-promotion. But there are a lot of TED Talks that Dr. Grandin has done and that some of these other kids have done. And I would encourage you guys to watch those just to get a sense or an idea of what other parents are doing, right? One of the things that Dr. Grandin says, so she talks about how it's really important for your kids basically to learn how to function out in the world. And to know that it's probably going to take them a lot longer to learn some of the things that other kids learn more quickly and more easily. So she talks about learning how to drive. And she said she must have driven literally on 200 miles of dirt roads before she was ever allowed to go out in traffic, like that kind of stuff. And so just as you're patient with toddlers and patient with younger kids, when they're learning how to do things, one of the unstated things that she's actually saying with her stories is that you have to be patient with them, and you have to give them, like for her, like the motor memory. She talks about how animals think in terms of motor memory, and they can't go from like an opening. I can't remember what the example was. The opening of an umbrella doesn't equate to another thing that might equate to that. For us, doesn't equate like that for animals. And it's the same thing with these kids. Like you have to ask yourselves, what do they require? What do I know about them? What do I know about my child that nobody else knows? What does my child love to do? What is my child enthusiastic about? And then also, what does my child need to learn, right, in order to function out in the world? Can they drive? Can they learn how to shop by themselves, like to go buy clothes or to buy groceries or whatever? And it may take them a little longer to learn all that. It requires an incredible degree of patience and awareness about who they are, and also I I get a willingness on the part of you guys as parents, um, to acknowledge how different they are, to be fine with that, and to sort of advocate for them out in the world. So if the schools, anyway, I digress. All right, questions for a kid who's CIA. I don't know. It's who's CIA, autistic, literate, and high defiant. How can I get them to be involved? I don't know what CIA means, but I would get them in, like what we're talking about, get them involved in activities that they love. A lot of times the defiance comes from years of being told that they have to be or do or think in ways that they don't, and really to say to them, look, here's the deal. Like, I, take ownership for whatever's come up until this point, and ask them questions like, what would you like to do? And these are some things that you're going to need to learn how to do. So what's an easy way for you to learn that, like that. I mean, really to involve them. She's verbal just when she opens her mouth to speak. You notice what? Like, what's the question there? Okay, in the meantime, what else? What are some other things? One of the things, Dr. Grandin just wrote a book called The Autistic Brain. I don't know when, but I sent the link to John and Chelsea. Maybe one of them can post it in there. One of the things that I love about her is that she sort of embodies my sense as a therapist of what my job is, which is to be present and be aware with who people are. So including people who've been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, and autism, and then to invite them to whatever it is that they would like to have, be, do, create out in the world, and like offer them the tools or the wherewithal so that they can actually have that, be, do, have, create that. Does that make sense? And so one of the things that Dr. Grandin says is we need to take the thing the kid is good at and build on it. So what is your child really good at? What does your child love? Most kids who've been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, and or autism, sometimes they're all diagnosed with this, with all of it. But label aside, what's the thing or things? What are the things that your child is really good at? And then build on it. Ask, how can I do more of this? How can we create more of this? Does that help? One of the things that I love about Dr. Grandin is that in no way does she ever make herself wrong. Does she ever apologize for who she is, even though she looks so different, sounds so different, thinks so different? I'm not sure I'm going to be able to talk a whole lot more about her without crying. She's created changes in the world that reverberate like worldwide, not only in the world of autism, but also in the world of animals. And what was one of the sort of basic fundamental ingredients of that? It was a mom who never quit. She never quit advocating for her, and she never quit pushing Dr. Grandin beyond her comfort zone, inch by molecule by whatever, right? There was something that I can't remember. There was something that triggered anyway. So she's her life has changed many lives and many realities. And she's amazing. I don't know what else to say. And I would encourage you guys to find other people who are like her. I can't remember the name of that other kid who's at Princeton or at MIT, but he's done some TED Talks that are really awesome. And Dr. Grandin has too. So I don't know what else. Where else would you guys like to go? I guess all right, let's ask some questions. So what's one thing that your child is really good at, really interested in, really good at, loves, obsesses about, spends all their time on? And what do you know about your child? What are your child's capacities with regards to that interest? What are your child's gifts? Like, do they get an instant download of information? Do they read differently so that they can like look at a page and get the down? Like, what are your child's special talents and special abilities? And what would you love your child to learn, to be able to do? What do you know that your child can do? Do you know that your child can drive? Do you know that your child can, I don't know, go to the store? Jacob Barnett, that's it. Thank you, John. Yes, thank you. My laptop gets wonky when I have too many things open. But yes, his name is Jacob Barnett. Find any TED Talk that he's done. He's absolutely brilliant. He's lovely. Um, yeah. What else? Anything else, you guys? I guess where I was going, what sort of got erased from my brain is one of the things that I hope that this group offers you is so many possibilities other than there's something wrong with your kid. Your kid needs to learn the way other kids learn. Your kid has something that needs to be fixed. Your kid is a problem. Like all that kind of stuff. Those are just not true. They're lies that are impelled on people who are different by people who don't get it. And one of the things that I'm really hoping that this group does is offer you a wealth of different possibilities, of different ways of viewing your kids, of being with them, of thinking about them, of viewing their future, and also of viewing yourselves. Right? I think one of the most challenging things on the planet is to be a parent and then double, triple to the nth degree, a parent of a kid who's so different and has been diagnosed with any one or all of these labels, right? They're not wrong. There's nothing wrong with them. So I think we're done. Yes? Cool. All right, you guys. Love you lots. Thank you so much. We'll get. I realized I never got the PDF up. John, thank you for creating it for the last one. So we'll do these two last week and this week and get them in the albums vault or whatever that is over on the left side of the Facebook page. Love y'all. Thank you. Bye.